guys through making a very beautiful springtime dish that was inspired by the beautiful weather we're having here in Arizona, as well as by some of the ingredients that I'm growing here on my patio. So today I'm making a lemon herb pasta, and the reason why I'm making this as well is because I gave up eating meat for a couple of months, and so I have to find creative outlets to still feed my hunger pains as well as what I just desired to eat. And so I'm also going to be adding some goat cheese to it. And the goat cheese will kind of eliminate my hunger for eating a piece of chicken or salmon, which would also go beautifully with this dish. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started. Today I'm going to be making you guys a fresh pasta. So I'm teaching you guys how to make flour, eggs, salt, as well as some oil into just a regular pasta. I'm going to be rolling it out, and then I'm also going to show you how to flavor it very lightly and springtime inspired using a Meyer lemon, some cherry tomatoes, as well as some of our lemon oil, which again, some of these items are kind of difficult to find, so I'll link below in the description where I found it, and that'll link you guys to their website so you guys can buy it as well. So to make the pasta, today I'm using a KitchenAid mixer because I'm kind of just a cheater. I don't want to do it by hand. I also spent a lot of money on this machine, and if I could do everything, including pay my rent with it, I would. So I'm going to go ahead and use it for every occasion. But again, if you wanted to learn how to do this by hand, watch one of my other tutorials where I kind of show you how to make bread, and I have an extensive guide of how you guys need something by hand. What I'm going to use today is flour, and I'm just using an all-purpose flour. It doesn't have to be anything special. You could find double O flour, which is a specialty flour that makes your pasta really, really nice and tender and toothsome. But honestly, to be truthful with you, having AP flour on hand, I'm just going to go ahead and use that. I'm also going to be using some salt. And again, I'll be putting all the recipes and all of the ingredient lists below on the description box. So today I'm just kind of going through all the movements. You guys can find all of the items and their measurements below. I'm also going to be using a lemon infused olive oil. So you guys can see it is a little bit of a harder find. I will definitely put on the description below where you can find this as well and where I bought it. I did have to go to a specialty store to find it, but it makes for a really herbaceous pasta, especially when you're pairing it with something so light and flavorful, and it really fortifies that lemon flavor. So I'm also going to be adding our eggs pretty soon. Go ahead and add my eggs at this point, breaking them on a flat surface, and then kind of just opening with my point index finger and my thumb, and placing all the eggs in there. I know that doesn't seem very important, but the reason why I'm doing it is I want to avoid getting the eggshells into the actual batter. So if you were to hit it on the side of a bowl or into if you were to hit it into the side of the bowl, what could happen is all the eggshells could get in. So one more time, last bit of egg, and then I'm gonna go ahead and give it just a nice little mix. On low speed so the flour doesn't go all over the place. My salt's already added. And that's all you have to do. I am using a kneading hook to kind of combine everything and also kind of start to stretch out those gluten strands, which is what's going to make this pasta very, very toothsome and very, very delicious. So again, flour, eggs, salt, and oil, 4 simple ingredients that are going to make a delicious pasta. It really does require a good amount of working out and kneading to make the pasta work out beautifully. So in about a few minutes here, everything is going to collect. Everything is going to stick to the actual paddle and not to the sides of the bowl, and you'll be set with your pasta. I never go above number 4 on my KitchenAid just because it makes the motor work twice as hard, and if it starts to feel like it's getting very hot, you can kind of smell something burning, it's your KitchenAid. I have ruined one before like that, so again, I don't suggest when you're using the kneading hook, ever go above number 4. You'll also start to hear a really loud hiss, and that's not good for the KitchenAid. Now that the dough has come together and it's not sticking to the sides of the bowl so much, I'm going to go ahead and take it out and kind of give it a good kneading by hand. One, to kind of show you guys what I mean by kneading process if you don't have a machine. And then second, because I'm a little impatient and I just want to get it done and get everything right off the bowl. I've had it in there for a good 4 minutes, just starting to knead away. The pasta is somewhat sticky, but not so much that it'll stick to my cutting board or to my fingers aggressively, as you guys can kind of tell. The dough is out. I'm gonna go ahead and teach you guys just a quick, simple instruction of how to knead the dough, which you're gonna use the palm of your hand to push forward, putting the pressure onto your toes, and then bring the dough back onto itself, and bring the pressure back onto your heels at the same time. So pushing forward and bringing back. Pushing forward and bringing back, and you're going to continue to do that until the texture of the dough is nice and smooth like a baby's cheek. Okay, now that we've kneaded for about a good minute more than the machine has done for us, you can tell that the dough is nice and smooth, and all I'm going to do now is with a saturated towel, cover it so that it doesn't form anything called an elephant skin. The elephant skin is when a crust starts to develop on the top, and there's no way to get rid of it other than to cut it away. And so just put it to the side and let it rest. The reason for the resting phase is that the dough has gone through the workout of its lifetime, aka kneading. And so right now, it just needs a little bit of time to rest and comply and want to stretch out beautifully. If I were to go right into the stretching of it out and making it very thin, it would kind of just go back into its original shape and go back into its original shape. So definitely give it about just 5 minutes to rest, and during the time that we let it rest, we're gonna move on to the rest of our ingredients. So I have a lemon I'm gonna go ahead and zest. I have some cherry tomatoes I'm going to go ahead and cut today. I have some goat cheese, but I'm not gonna use this till towards the end when I just dollop it right on top of my dish. And that's really all I need to use and that's really the only things I bought outsourced for myself. As for the other ingredients, like I said, I was inspired by my patio garden, so I'm also going to be using chives that are growing beautifully and rich in my garden, as well as the basil, and those are going to bring the two elements of freshness and herbaceousness to our dish. Okay, you guys, so these are the chives that inspired me to make this dish. It is nice and beautiful and emerald green. The ribbons are super lengthy, as well as nice and well developed at the bottom. So they're not super wimpy. They're quite thick, as you guys can tell, especially for a chive. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut it right here at the bottom, and I'm just gonna use a quick, sharp, very sharp chef's knife to do the work for me instead of using a pair of scissors. But you could use either one if that's perfectly fine with me as well. And this will promote some more growth. It'll start to get a little bit larger, as well as start to produce more chives all the way through. And there you go. I have the chives I'm gonna be using for today's dish. Okay, guys, I'm also gonna be using some basil in today's dish. This one has started to flower. However, even though it has some of the flowers, this is a sterile variation of basil, so I'm not really concerned with the flavor kind of diminishing away. I want to cut at a segment where I can see two little underlying growing pieces of basil. That way my plant continues to flourish and grow, and I'm not going to cut it at the main trunk. If not, your plant is basically dead. I'm going to cut a few little sprigs off, take it right into the kitchen, and then we're going to be using the chives and the basils to make this delicious meal, topped off and wonderful. So there you go, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zest it. So grabbing the lemon, tucking my fingers behind, I'm going to just apply a little bit of pressure and scrape as if I were filing my nails and or playing the violin. And you guys can see that every time I scrape, I can then see the white portion, which is called the pith of the lemon. Not very tasty, so I only want the yellow. And I'm just going to continue to do that for the entirety of the lemon. The reason why I enjoy doing this for the lemon rather than the old traditional standard way is because when you do it the traditional standard way towards the bottom of the bowl with the microplane this way, what it does, one, the lemon falls to the bottom. So if you don't have a bowl right there in place, it's gonna fall and scatter and make a mess. Second is I don't live beneath the microplane, so I can't tell how close I am to the white part. So as you can see, as I'm zesting now, I'm giving it a quick little glance just to see how close I am, and then when I see that I'm there, I go ahead and I stop myself. That way I don't get any excess pith in there, because I don't know about you, but getting the white little parts separated from this yellow zest would be quite a tremendous amount of work, but respect to you if you can do it. Nonetheless, I think that the nail filing technique is a lot easier, a lot better, though it can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to the traditional way. This will work out very handy for you. And now we have almost the entirety of the lemon zest. And again, you don't have to use the lemon zest if you don't want a very predominant lemon dish, you just want the acidic bite to it, but I really want to make it stand out as a lemon pasta, so I'm using the lemon zest, which has all the essential oils, the lemon juice, which has all the acidity inside of it, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a nice roll to break up all the little vessels inside of our lemon. Now that all the little vessels are broken up, I can go ahead and cut it with my knife, and I'm going to juice it right into the same bowl that I'm placing all of my lemon zest. For my lemon zest, all I have to do is kind of scoot it on out with my fingers, and there I have all of it. Very nice and easy. If this was a larger bowl, I could literally just turn this around and tap all the zest out. But as you can tell, if I do that now, it kind of scatters through all of my cutting board. So I just put my finger right through it. I'm gonna go ahead and juice my lemons right into the same bowl that I have my zest. But before I do that, so I don't get a little too messy and too watery all over the place, I'm also gonna show you a quick little trick with our cherry tomatoes. For our cherry tomatoes, a lot of people know that they're kind of bothersome to cut. You have to kind of hold them still, make sure you don't cut your hand, they're rounded so they want to move all over the place. Instead, I try to get two lids that almost everyone has in their house. A lot of people always ask me, well, where can you find these? Can I have to buy these special? And the answer is no. Honestly, if you guys have just 2 yogurt containers or 2 sour cream containers, you guys can make it work. So there they are, and I'm gonna place all of my cherry tomatoes right inside. And I do have to tuck them in quite closely, so they have to be hugging at each other. No large gaps, because that'll be harder to cut later on when I show you the quick little trick. And don't be afraid to really nuzzle them together, like so. Then I'm going to use the top, and as soon as I put the top on there, it builds a barrier, so now it won't try to escape, and I can move all the cherry tomatoes unifiedly. I then grab my knife, and I cut parallel to the little slit that is between the top lid and the bottom lid, cutting down, and then just all the way through, keeping my hand nice and safe as I push my palm forward so that my knife doesn't collide with it. That would not be a fun story. There you go. Now you have all your cherry tomatoes cut. One beautiful slide. Honestly, the thing that will probably take you the longest to do this is to find both of your lids to kind of get this trick done. Now that I have all my cherry tomatoes and my lemon, I'm also going to go ahead and chop up my chives and my basil, and that's all I really need. So our lemon zest, I kind of squeeze the lemon, letting my fingers kind of catch all those seeds as the juice kind of falls naturally between. There we go. And then I have my goat cheese as well. The goat cheese, again, I'm just gonna put it on little dollops on top of the pasta. That is gonna replace my protein element. Especially since lately I've been having a lot of cravings for meat, going on, what, day 23 now? 21 now, whatever today is, the January. And so pasta or cheese really helps with the cravings. Okay guys, so now we're gonna use a KitchenAid pasta machine to go ahead and start rolling out and making our pasta as thin as we want. For the KitchenAid pasta roller, the few little tricks for it is that the dial is right here, and with the dial, what you have to do is push it forward and then kind of twist to your left or right, depending on which way you have it. And the bigger the number, so 10, the closer the little rollers are together, and that's gonna be the thinner your pasta is gonna be. I've already used mine a couple of times, so I know my desired thickness is going to be about a 6 or a 7, but I would suggest kind of playing with yours and trying your settings and see what pasta you prefer and the thickness of it as well. As for our other pasta, I'm gonna go ahead and flatten it out, just giving it a little bit of pressure just to flatten it out as much as I possibly can before I make it get really, really thin through this machine. My quick little joke with everyone is that, boy, do I wish that there was a machine that could do this to my body. Don't you? Don't we all? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that this is back to number 1. Turn the machine on to a low. You don't want to turn it too high. If you turn it too high, it extrudes way too quickly, and unless you're a super speedy person, you can't quite collect it fast enough. So when I also grab my dough, from now on, I don't want to use my fingertips. I want to use something I like to call a flipper, kind of like what penguins have. And that is because I'm going to be catching my dough with my flipper part of my hand, so the smooth part here, because if I use my fingertips, it can possibly protrude through it, and as it gets thinner, can rip a hole into my dough. So from now on, I use my little flippers, and here we go. Push it right through the machine, letting it naturally fall, and I'm collecting it with the flat part of my flipper. And there you go. You have your first turn. It's flattened it out nice and beautifully for you. And I'm going to do a trifold, meaning I'm going to place it into a tri. I'm going to go ahead and do a trifold, like so. It doesn't have to be very specific or super beautiful. It just has to be nice and squared off here so that your dough kind of has some shape that's not super weird. And then place it right through the machine once again. And then we're gonna go ahead and do every single number twice. So now that I've done 1 twice, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to 2, and then 2 twice, 3 twice, 4 twice, 5 twice, 6 twice, and then 7 twice. And that will be the story of our pasta. Now that our dough is nice and rolled out, it is a little sticky to the touch just because there's so much surface area that's been exposed. So what I'm going to do is just apply a little bit of flour using my sifter, and now I'm going to go ahead and roll it. What I want to do is kind of roll it as if you were rolling a cinnamon roll or taquito or whatever it is that you roll at your own home. None of my business. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and quickly start to cut it into the sizes that we want. I want a little bit larger than a traditional fettuccine, but in order to obtain that, again, I can't use the machine. And then all you do is unravel it giving you your beautiful first piece of pasta. The two outside edges are always going to be the ones that don't look exactly like the other ones, just because they're not as uniform. If you're okay with that, by all means, go ahead and feel free to keep it. If you're more of an OCD person, you guys can trim the edges as well and make it look really, really uniformed. And there you guys have it. Your nice fresh pasta using some of the KitchenAid, but also going to go ahead and using just a bare knife. That's all you really need. Now that you have your dough, collect it. I like to go ahead and hold it from the center, like so, with just my, from the center, with just my middle finger. And now I kind of very gently and effervescently lay it flat in a nest, like so. And I have my very first pasta nest. Okay guys, so now that our pasta is nice and cut in beautiful ribbons, we're gonna start to cook it. And so I'm gonna cook it in a pot of boiling water. And so I have some rules for when you are cooking pasta that are a definite. One is that your water must be boiling, meaning that there must be a rapid agitation on the surface. And that just basically means there needs to be bubbles, that it needs to be really, really boiling hardcore. The reason for that is if you put it into water that is hot, even though it's not necessarily boiling, it is going to start to cook, but it'll melt together and the pasta will stick quite aggressively. So again, those bubbles and the agitation are well needed. Second is seasoning of your water. So when it comes to seasoning, people tend to put just a tiny bit of salt right into their pasta, but what they need to do is put a ton. So what I have here is just a pinch, but that is definitely not what you need for this water. You need to have a good amount. So make the water taste like the ocean, and that is all you're gonna need to have very successful and tasty pasta. This is the only time that you have to cook the pasta, this is the only time that you have to season the pasta, other than when you season it with the sauce. But again, rule of thumb, if your pasta isn't cooked in enough water to give it all flavor, doesn't matter how great your sauce is, it's never gonna taste at that prime rate. It's never gonna taste as delicious as it can possibly be. So at this point, my water's coming to a boil. On this pan here, I just have a little bit of oil starting to heat on up. And again, I'm using the same oil. And again, I'm using the same oil that I made with the pasta with. So it's the lemon infused oil. While the water is coming to a rapid boil, I'm gonna go ahead and add my tomatoes to the hot oil, and it's going to sizzle at first and spit just a little bit because there is quite a bit of water in the tomatoes, and oil and water don't necessarily like each other. Again, don't necessarily be scared of this, and I just want to cook it for a good 4 minutes just to start to bruise up the skin of the tomatoes and start tweaking the structure so that it doesn't feel like you're munching on a skin of a tomato for too long. You don't have to do this, but you guys could add just a bit of fresh garlic that all I did was just kind of break down with my knife to release all those essential oils and kind of infuse the flavor but not have so much predominant garlic, because later on we'll go ahead and pick it on out and throw it into the garbage. But this will lightly infuse the oil. A little bit of lemon, a little bit of garlic, and a lot of tomato. Now that our water is boiling, I'm going to go ahead and start cooking our pasta. Just place it into the boiling hot water. Give it a quick little mix with your tongs. When it comes to cooking fresh pasta, it actually cooks quite quickly. So all you're really gonna need is about a good minute to a minute and a half when the pasta water, all you're gonna need is a quick minute when the pasta starts floating right to the top of the surface. So here we go, it is floating to the top. Continue to let it cook. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and place this right into my pan and toss it all together so it starts cooking and melding all those flavors. I'm gonna go ahead and put up my fire onto a higher temperature so that I can add my lemon juice, and it'll start to kind of bubble away very quickly, evaporating a lot of the H2O out of it, but leaving a more concentrated flavor of lemon. I also have the lemon zest in there, so that's also gonna help to really amplify that flavor. So currently we have garlic, our tomato, our pasta in here, and I'm just tossing it so that it coats. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more lemon juice and lemon zest. Let that bubble away, really infusing and marrying into the pasta. And that's all you have to do. So now we've taken all of our pasta, we've cooked it, we've set it together with all the other flavors. So now it's been combined with a little bit of tomatoes, some of our olive oil that has our lemon infusion in there, as well as some salt, pepper, and that's all there really is to it. I did throw in just a clove of garlic that was smashed to add a little bit of perfume and scent to it, but last minute touches are gonna be our fresh herbs, because everything else in that concept has been cooked, and so now I wanna play with a little bit of freshness versus cooked. gonna put some goat cheese dollop right over the top. I like to call this technique accidentally on purpose, so don't be too precise with it. Don't make it look like it's purposely done. Allow some flowing and some falling to happen, is what I like to call it, and that's all there is to it. I'm gonna finish it off with a little drizzle of our lemon infused olive oil to really kick off that flavor, and we're all set after that. Okay, you guys, here we have it. A beautiful garden-inspired springtime dish with lots of flavor from lemon and from the tomatoes, and we have some dollops of goat cheese really to just finish it off and make it an over-the-top dish. Okay, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed me teaching you guys how to make this beautiful spring-inspired dish. If you guys like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Also, go ahead and click the notification button below to get notified of when I put other videos, and I hope to see you guys again in the next one. Have a great day.